evening and welcome to another Wednesday night race on the bronze server tonight, HockenheimRing. We've got two classes of car. TJ Sakoccio is driving the first one, which is the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car. And we've also got the BMW 325i. So we're going to see both these cars come around the track. We're going to run more into the car types themselves as we take a ride around with a couple of the drivers tonight. We have Jared Svetek again, and we also have Evan Gramke. Both are making their way into the server here shortly, so we will see them having a chance to take a ride around the HockenheimRing in Germany with both these guys, talk about the cars themselves, the handling, the track, how it feels, and what they're expecting to see as they go around the track tonight. Just before we get into the car with Jared and Evan, we're just going to take a quick second to bring up the cars of the night and the racetrack itself. So we will be in the HockenheimRing. Baden-Württemberg traditionally sets the DTM kickoff as well as the final round of the season. The track demands precision driving, especially through the corner combinations of the Motordrome Stadium complex. So we'll get into those corners here in just a second and look at the track map itself. So the start-finish line's down here in the bottom left corner of the racetrack. Make your way into Nordkurve, which is your first turn. We will see as they come around. This is a bit of a treacherous curve if you're carrying too much speed, and if you try to cut any of the curving itself, you may find a car upset and off track. Turns 2, 3, and 4 should be treated as a single entity here, because how you do in turn 2 is definitely going to affect how turn 4 and the Parabolica, which is the high-speed left-hand corner, they will directly affect how you make speed on this corner here. So we're going to see a lot of passing as we come to the Parabolica down into the hairpin. The hairpin, look for a lot of overshooting and a lot of guys really defending the inside of that corner. There's some great passing opportunities here, both inside, outside, and under overpasses will occur there. Coming down to the Mercedes section here, you'll see a lot of grandstands and what have you in the turns 7 through 9. And 10 itself here comes onto the back straight, this longer back straight of the 2, and a turn 11 mobile. There's a huge gravel trap out the inside of turn 11, so if anyone's carrying too much speed, they may find themselves eating a little bit of gravel and falling behind the battle itself. Socks, probably one of the most interesting corners. It's got a huge amount of camber on it, so you can take it quite quickly as you drop into 13 and 14. These come over a bit of a curb, and you can clatter into turn 15, on to turn 16, and across the circuit straight. Looking at the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car, this is the 2017 edition. Porsche is well known for taking, not reinventing the wheel, but taking the wheel they have and making it as best as possible. So this car is currently producing 485 brake horsepower and weighs 1,205 kilograms. This is all being done with a flat 6 4-liter. So mounted just in behind the rear axle is this engine. So this is a very light on the nose car. The fuel cell is located in the front of the car, so if they're carrying a lot of fuel, the car will handle it a bit better as the fuel drops off. So will their oversteer problems as the understeer will start to come into play. Combating with these guys out on the track, we have the BMW M235i race car. So this one here is boasting a naturally aspirated engine. It's 6-cylinder and it's running with about 300 and sorry, it's not naturally aspirated, it's twin turboed with 333 brake horsepower being made. This car is just a little bit heavier at 1,425 kilograms, and you can see as we scroll down through the liveries here, there are quite a few options in RaceRing for what can be picked for tonight's racing. So we should see quite a colorful collection of cars out there, as we will with the GT Cup cars, as these are especially designed pretty much for one-off class races, being the GT being such a popular car for Porsche. And back to the racing. We are just over 10 minutes into practice here. So now is a good time to drop in with our race drivers. We're going to kick it off with the BMW class. And we're going to hunt down Mr. Jared Svetek, if I can find him out there. So Jared stepped in. I'll have to come back to him later. Ed Granke is in the Porsche. We will hop on board with him and get him into the booth with us. Hello, Evan.
Hey, Scott. How's it going?
Very well, thanks. We're just hopping on board with you. So you're in the pits right now?
I'm about to pull out.
Right on. So we're just going to hop in the car with you. So you've had a chance to turn some laps with the Porsche. Have you come to any decisions on setup, or is it just take the stock setup and go?
I have a combination of about 2 to 3 different setups I've gotten from people. So at this point, I'm kind of just figuring out which one I like and kind of combining them a little bit. But overall, it seems like make the soften the front as much as you can, and then open up the diff as much as you can.
Right on, so you're trying to remove some of that oversteer on lift off.
Yeah, but still, I'm not a professional, so I have no idea. We'll see. We'll see if I survive or not.
Some exciting driving, absolutely, with the different setup options this car is capable of. I know the BMW is severely limited on the options you can take for changing the car itself.
Yeah, that's why I chose this car too. Is I don't think the BMW is as fun to drive as this.
It does feel a lot more tame for sure.
But I'm saying this combo works out really well in my opinion, to where the closing distance, the closing speeds on the BMWs versus the Porsches is, I think it's just perfect enough where you're not, like, the Porsches aren't pulling up with the BMWs so fast you can't react or whatever, but it's still a bit, I mean, there's still a big enough difference to where it actually feels like a multi-class race.
Absolutely. I think what's going to make tonight really interesting is they're both single make classes. So last week we had the P2s and the GT2s, and we saw a fairly large difference in the pace of the P2 cars, especially in the corners, whereas in the straights they were almost neck and neck. But the ability to pick 3 or 4 different cars in each class made a huge difference on the finishes there. I think we had domination from the Daytonas and the Corvettes.
Yeah, they were just so much faster down that back straight in Mid-Ohio. It was insane.
Right. So we're just down into the corners 2, 3, and 4 as I talked about earlier here. So if you get a good turn in 2, 3, and 4 come easily in the Parabolica, which is this corner now, Evan is driving it, you can carry a ton of speed. How do you find the tires are holding up? Are they being eaten alive, or are they?
Surprisingly, they're kind of holding on. They're pretty even wearing too, which is nice.
Great. Do you have a tire strategy for the night, or are you just gonna go hard through the entire race?
That I usually, fill it all the way up and drive till I'm out of gas, and just fill it. That's usually my go-to.
That works, man. Whatever works. Attrition will get you a lot of places too if you find yourself out of the track or something. I think that's Theodore Innisbury or Alex Van Men in front of you. Yeah, Deutsche Post cars.
Yeah, this track's, you gotta find a median between high downforce for these the higher corners, and then that long straights, the 2 of them basically before and after the hairpin. You gotta kind of gauge which do you prefer, as I completely missed this corner.
It's all good. I'm distracting you by making you talk about it. You see they like to put a lot of gravel on the other side of these runouts because there's not a lot of travel there, so they have to slow the car down as fast as possible. Unfortunately, they can't do that. Just move the wall back some, because it can grandstand and other property boundaries there. But this first corner here, you have a long runout and a ton of gravel, and hopefully nobody has to use it tonight.
I always thought it was interesting that curb on the T1 has a huge gutter in it, which kind of makes it weird trying to hop across it.
Yeah, if you have a very firm setup, you're going to be skipping and have traction. Yeah, you can see the pace between the Porsches and the BMWs in this corner here as they lack the straight line speed. A little bit under braking there with that BMW behind you. Nice.
I mean, it was a little scary.
Yep. Awesome stuff. Okay, any last things you want to say before we move on there, Evan?
Nope, that's all. Hopefully I'll survive.
Yeah, we look forward to watching the action out there. Have fun.
All right, thank you.
That was Evan Gramke driving the 83 car. He's tonight racing for Zola Racing, and he is under the flag of Joe's Barbecue Foot Massages. So Jared Svettek made his way to the race, so we'll jump over and chat with him. Evening, Jared.
Hey Scott, how are you?
Doing well. I was watching you come down into the Mercedes corners here.
Sneak out some extra time here.
Yeah, looks like it. Just in the entirety of the track.
Trying to.
Yeah.
Trying to keep behind me. Won't happen.
Yeah, there's Don Bissell in his car up beside you. Just talking with Evan Gramke about the closing differences between these cars.
They are very, sorry, I'm all over the place now. I'm not paying attention.
It's alright.
What am I going to say? I don't know. Yes. I was hearing someone say that the braking is pretty close on these, and maybe the BMW can outbrake it.
Right.
But I'm not too sure. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where the Porsches try to pass. If they try to do it middle of a corner or stick to the streets, I don't know, but it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, it seems like a Parabolica is one of the larger passing areas, as well as the run down into Mercedes is probably going to be another spot to try to gain some position on the BMWs. How do you find the car?
So.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I hope that's the only two places they try to do it. That'll make things a little easier.
Right. I think corner 2 here is going to see a lot of overtaking as well.
It will. The car feels great. I love this car. It's a very, you sit down in it,
Right.
you go, you don't do much. There's not much to change in the setup, so it's really, the speed comes and the time comes from you just being able to, drive the track.
Right. How do you find it handles the curves here at Hockenheim?
It handles them pretty well. It doesn't really throw it off much. I'm gonna get out of the way of some Porsches here. It handles it really well. I mean, you don't really notice much. It does happen though if you come out of a corner, you try to hit a throttle too fast. You'll lose the back end a little bit, so you got to kind of watch out a little bit. But other than that, it's pretty nice. It feels really good as always.
So we tagged the wall there in Mercedes.
Yeah.
It's very easy to lock up and then lose all your steering capability with these cars.
It certainly is. Probably more with the Porsche, but I don't know. I didn't really try the Porsche.
Yeah,
Saw the BMW and I went right with it.
Yeah, Evan said that the big thing was to kill the rear diff and to soften the front suspension and really get that understeer removed. Try to entice the car into oversteer when you want it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully it's a good race for everybody. Hopefully there's no crashes and everything else.
There'll be plenty of those. I'm sure there'll be some off tracks and some interesting passing opportunities that'll come from that. I think these curves, because of the ride height differences between the two cars, I think the BMWs will handle hitting that inside curve with P1 as well as the outside curve a little more happily than the Porsches will.
Definitely. Turn 1 will be fun to watch come race time.
Yeah, that bright orange curve is going to be death, I think, for a lot of people's suspension if they do hammer into it.
Hopefully I'm not one of them.
Looks like we got a pretty even field too. We got so far we've got 11 Porsches and 11 BMWs out there, so it's going to be a packed grid. It's going to be awesome to watch.
That will be. It's a good thing. I was hoping I was hoping there weren't too many Porsches and not enough BMWs. That'll at least give people some good racing against each other.
For sure, we got almost a perfect split, so it's going to be like a blast to watch. You guys are stuck with a single tire choice as well, correct?
We are, yes.
Okay, yeah, the Porsches have a little bit of tire strategy there. I don't think anyone's going to bite on the softs just because of how hard these cars are chewing up the tires.
Right.
But we'll see what that brings as we go around.
There you go. It's perfect.
Any setup tips for those watching at home with this car?
No, sit down, drive, and have fun. That's all you got to do with this car.
Right on. I know it's limited compared to the Porsche for options you can change on it. It's kind of like just the front anti-roll bar and some spring adjustments of 1 or 2 clicks.
That and you can adjust the camber. That's about it.
Right on. Oh god, oh god, oh god.
I'm losing it.
All right, we'll stop bothering you. Let you get back to practice.
No, it's all right. It's all right. It'll be good. But thanks for having me.
Have a good one. We pestered Jared Svetek enough there, I think. Let him get back out on track and get some practice in without someone nattering in his ear. Ignacio De Leon in the other Deutsche Post car. So we've got 3 of them out on the track now, I believe. I'm just going to go down through the list here as we're practicing away. Starting up at the top right now with the 143.442 is John Wysork. Expect him to set some absolutely blistering and insane lap times. He will be challenged, however, by Theodore Ensbury, who's only a half second in behind him. So not much between the 2 of those guys as Ensbury's making his way down towards turn 11. Theolupu is 0.01 seconds in behind Ensbury, so the Theos are again together near the front of the pack. The 2 of those together should be a blast to watch battle it out. And a slight gap back to Keyshawn Hall in the 4 through 7 group here. Keyshawn Hall racing for GRG group. Great racer to watch. Loves to get on the attack when he can. As you can see, he's getting side by side with the BMW going into the final corner onto the front straight. So Keyshawn having a blast out there. Alex Van Manthey driving another Deutsche Post car. He's running at around 144.89, so he's about 1.5 seconds off the lead pace, but within 0.1 seconds of P4. So there's going to be 4 cars here, including Luke Filippone, who are going to have a very tight race out there. So the GoPro of Luke Filippone, he's turned about 10 laps on the track so far, so he's got a fair bit of warm-up in. Should see some fairly comparable. They may be running full race fuel, or they could be running with just a little bit of quality fuel. We'll see what happens when they get out on the track, if their lap times do change. TJ Scocchio's taking a break in the shade in his green NVIDIA car. So he's running a 1.833 right now, or sorry, a 1:45.257. So he's doing well out there as well. Right beside him, Evan Gramke. He's within 0.3 seconds as he's out there in the FedEx car, looking to send it. Randy Cruz in the UPS car, so he and the FedEx of Evan Gramke should be door-to-door the entire race. And Don Bassell. Oh, I'm going to skip over him for now. I'm going to drop down to Joe West. He's driving the highlighter-colored Hertz car tonight. Currently residing down in P10 for the Porsches. Mike Speedman, hope we find the speed he needs, as he's got the Speed Racer logo as his icon. So he hopefully will find some pace out there. He's only set 1 lap, so he's not going to time on the board just yet. Louis Dominguez in a Hertz car as well. He's currently waiting in the pits. He's not yet to turn a lap out there, as well as Fred Rose in the Race Room Red Porsche. Moving over to the BMWs, Don Bassell's currently sitting at the top of the podium, running with 153.8. Augusto Floriano, very close to him with 154.132. Dennis Johnson, he's got a 154.899. And the recent ride along with Jared Svetek in the Red Bull, as he's coming around turn 1 here. Sorry, coming out of turn 3 onto the Parabolica. Mauricio Delgado, he is driving in the orange and blue Pixum car, so we should see some very close racing with him and Jared, as there's less than half a second in between those two. Matthew Tapia, he's driving the green, it looks like a Nürburgring taxi car. Diego Yunguez, the bright yellow and black of the Racehouse Motorsport BMW. Mark Sutton, as you get a terrible camera angle there, pulling into the pits in the blue and white LSR car. Down further, Sean Patterson. Back on track. It's been a while since we've seen Sean out. I think last week he did make an appearance. He's taking on the BMW tonight in the white and red car. The sole Canadian on the grid tonight. And everyone's favorite Australian, Rangy Rover, the Terror. So he is yet to turn a lap out there, but expect great things from Rangy as he seeks to get that BMW under control. He likes to set his cars up to run loose, so we should see a lot of interesting sideways driving from Rangy. If you're just joining us, we are in Hockenheim. It's a 4.5 kilometer long. Let's pull it up here. Racetrack in Germany. Today's current track temperature is 30 degrees, air temperature is 20. It's 2 km/h winds, and it's sunny and dry as always in the perfect weather of race room. Taking a quick look at the track map here, you can see we are running the GP layout. We have down the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, we have the start-finish line going into turn 1, which is probably the most treacherous turn for most people, if not the hairpin, as there are curves there that look to upset the Porsches and make their life a living hell as they're trying to get out of down to turn 2 on the straight. We see Ranger here diving into the hairpin as that red and white Porsche comes up in behind him. I believe that's Fred Ross just in behind him. Yes. So let's turn it come down the front straight here. You can see quite a pace difference on the straight stretches between those two cars as they head into the Mercedes. Under braking, the two seem to handle quite well. As you can see, Range is making up quite a bit of time on that braking point as they push through turns 9 and 10 onto the second part of that back straight. Back in auto direct, we got Randy Cruz out there. He's currently making his way down into the hairpin, practicing his overtaking and practicing going back to the pits because he's ripped the hood off his car. See how Theo Ensbury gets on with the same corner here. Much cleaner line, a little less over braking, and he's away safely. So unfortunately, locking the tires up in these cars will result in you disappearing into the distance. 20 seconds left until we start getting real here. We'll have a 15-minute session of qualifying, followed by 90 minutes of lapping. We got a Go Jared out there, so we'll hope Jared seeks to improve on his time there. He's up into 3rd place in the standings in practice as the AI takes over and loses it into the gravel there. So that was not the driver, that's the AI flip over as the game says, okay, practice is over, get ready for quali. So the game for quali is get on track as fast as possible, as Theo Lupu's doing that instantly, hammering down, ignoring all the limits for pit lane, getting out on the track and trying to get as far away from everyone else as possible. Ideally, you want to have clean air in front of you or a car as equal pace to you, so you can kind of sneak a bit of time off of them with the draft. John Westwork has taken the clear air route. In practice, he was setting quite a wide gap between himself and everyone else. See if he seeks to improve on that here for qualifying. Coming down to the hairpin, we got Keyshawn Hall in that white and green Porsche as he's coming around the corner onto the back straight start. Closing the gap to the BMW. These guys are going to be pushing these cars as hard as they can. Generally not on your out lap as he finds himself off track. Tires are cold on these cars. There's no tire warmers in the pits for the Porsches nor the BMWs, so it's easy to lose traction, especially with full brakes. These guys will be under braking your corners and running a little bit wide until things warm up. See a little pump of gravel there. Car in front going wide. He's looking over the rear wing here. We can watch the BMW going a little bit sideways with the Porsche hot on his heels. Stuff there. So that Porsche's going to be looking. That's Sean Patterson get past that. Sorry, that's not Sean Patterson. That is Fred Close. Nope. It's not him. I should know who that is. There it is. John Weissorek is looking to get past that BMW because now he needs to get some time down. This is where it's going to start counting. He is on his flying lap now, so he's coming down into turn 2 here, making the right-hander on turn 3, and then starting the long haul down the Parabolica. So we should fly around here. Maybe a nice high-angle view here of the hairpin as they come around. John runs a little bit deep into that corner, coming back onto the back straight. Still doing well. He's purple in sector 1. He doesn't think he's touched that time yet. If you are seeing purple on the screen, that means that this person is going his fastest around the track out of his class, or her class. And John's pretty used to seeing purple show up as he's racing around this track, as he uses the absolute limit going around Mercedes. This final straight, manages to keep it within sector, purpling again for sector 2, down to turn 11. So easy to go wide here on that corner, and just touch gravel, and it will pull you in, leaving you in the ditch. And as you can see from riding with Jared, it's tough to get out. It'll eat you alive. So we can see we've got the sector's gone green now for John, so somebody has gone a little bit quicker than John around that track as he comes from across the start-finish line. And he is just behind Theo Lupu, so a half second behind Theo Lupu, who's now your current pole setter. But we've still got 16 minutes of lapping left, so it was actually 20 minutes. I said 15 minutes earlier. I lied to you. I'm sorry. I apologize. There's Johnson, the latecomer to practice there, is currently sitting at the top of the BMW heap. Scratch that. Jared Svatek just took him over. Dennis Johnson was out there running a 155.283. So now that Don Bessel and Jared Svatek have come across the line, Don Bessel's now running at a 154.3, so he's got about a second on him, whereas Jared is running a 155.1, so about a half second between those two. Everybody's on the track right now except for Matthew Tippett. I think he may be just making some exciting changes. Hopefully he'll get back on the track soon. It pays no dividends to start at the back of the grid on this, especially given the pace of these drivers. It looks like we have a bit of a midfield pack starting with the Porsches at about the 1 second mark behind the 2 race leader times of Theo Lupu and John Weissorek. As Theo Lupu pushes his car just a little bit too hard into turn 11 and finds himself oversteering. He's going to bite some more gravel here. As the car hopping quite violently as he's trying to get back out on track. Hopefully not coming into contact with these 2 delivery cars. So safely around is Theo. I believe that's Don Bessel just in front of him. I apologize, not Don Bessel. Theo Insbury in the Deutsche Post car. So John Wysork has taken back pole. He just run a 173.766, and the ever quick Pedro Magala is in behind him, running a 143.9. So these two very rapid times out of both of them. I think we're going to see a gap increase there from John Wysork. He's finding a little more time out on the track there. I agree, Ed Engineer. I do expect Jared to be faster in quali. He was getting talked to during practice. I think it threw him off. He's currently riding in 4th place for the BMWs right now, so great stuff from him. He's 0.2 seconds off position 3 and about 0.4 seconds off position 2, so he's quite close to the front runners of that class. I know he's been putting the practice in, so should see some great stuff from him. As we watch John Wysork increases, sorry, not increase, he ran a 143.766. So sorry, he did increase his time. Yeah, slight gap now between him and Pedro Magales. Pedro Magales coming back with a 143.225. Wow. So he's just knocked over half a second out of John Wysork's time. Absolutely rapid pace from Pedro. We'll hop on board with him as you watch what it takes to throw a car around this track with that kind of pace. Very smooth input as you come around parabolic. You don't want to overheat your tires. Probably running a fairly low drag setup for this kind of time. And the only problem with that is if you get on the power, the car's not going to have the downforce to let you get going again. So you can see a lot of power swing there from Pedro. So he's 0.087 off his previous first second best time, which is not a lot. Let's see if we can find some more time here. Lots of braking there. So really early turn in there for Pedro. As he tries to line up turn 10 and get much power down. He makes it back down the straight and his car's rolling absolutely flat. Not really working out from there. He's now down almost a quarter second from his previous lap time. So hear the sound of gravel come up underneath his car. Manages to keep within the track limits though. He's coming around socks. That's a very interesting camber curve. You can carry a lot more speed than you thought. Over the lump turn 13 and 14 and into the back final corners. These last two corners can't be treated as a single entity if you get the line right. Coming back on this final straight, you should be under heavy power. So he makes his way to the back straight. So, about 1 second off. That gravel, like I said, will kill your time as well as kill your ability to challenge position. Looking back at John Wysork, he is going to be coming into some sideways traffic here. Hopefully it doesn't bother him too much. As the BMWs scatter themselves across the track in front of him. But he seems to split the pack and makes his way down into Mercedes. Down on track level here with John as he comes from the Mercedes corners. Here a little bit of tire lockup. He's trying to short shift and get some power down without spinning the wheels. Very low RPM coming around the corner. It's so easy to get these cars to spin out on you if you put the power down too early. That rear engine mount definitely makes the balance of this car throw quite badly if you try to abuse it around the corner. So quite tight stuff here from John. He's probably going to see himself sitting in at 0.2 off Pedro. Oh, he went off 0.838, so he's not going to best himself there. He's going to have to try to, as you can see, the car bounces around quite a bit on the curves there in turn 1. Theo Winsbury getting up there quickly. He's managed to find some time there in sector 1. As he's coming into sector 2 here, going green in sector 2. Absolutely flying down to sector 3. Hopefully he can keep it from going over the white line there. Into socks. So he's found his pace here quite well. And then we could see him take P1 here if he manages to trying to find time in these last 2 corners. Running a little bit wide. Is that going to catch his timeout? I don't think it is. Oh, showing invalid. Let's see if he can get across the finish, start finish here. Yeah, so Theo Ensberg unfortunately running a invalid lap on that last corner, so he's not going to improve on his time. He was leading into the final 2 corners there, as Pedro Miguel is behind him. Just comes back with a 143.0, so he's almost into the 142s, which is insanely fast for the Porsche class. Down for the BMWs, Dom Bessel. He's currently beating his own best times here as he's coming around sector 3. A little bit wide there again. Didn't go invalid, which is good for him. Last corner. And so yes, he's improved himself there at 153.078, which is incredibly rapid from Dom. He is now almost a full second ahead of Augusto Floriano in 2nd place, and the Green Terror of Rangy Rover. So like I said before, Rangy enjoys having his car set up a little bit loose. We may see a little bit of that sliding action here as he gets down into Mercedes. Dom Bassel's got about a 0.8 second gap between himself and Floriano, as well as Rover. So you see Rangy squirrely a little bit under power there. So I was talking before, this is what loose setup's really going to show up for Rangy as he's trying to get power down. Coming out of this corner, we may see the back end come out on him a little bit as he bounces off the curbs. But he manages to keep it tidy there. You can see some. Nice smooth line there from Rangy coming into turn 11. So he's currently setting his best times around the track right now, as you can see by the green sector there. Unfortunately, the times are against the lap leader, who Pedro Miguel is in a different class. So that's where you're seeing the very high numbers there, 8-second time difference in between race leader and Rangy. He runs a little bit in the grass here, but manages to keep it from being invalidated, I think. We'll see what happens here as he comes across the start-finish line. So 154.72. So yeah, that was invalidated because he went off in the grass there, unfortunately. We're just over 5 minutes left here. It's qualifying at Hockenheim. So we watch John Wessor come into corner 1 here. Down in the BMW's, Rangy Rover's found himself off into the lawn. Taking a moment to collect himself and get back in the pits. He'll probably try to get out there to get a couple more laps in, as he wants to try to get as close to the front of the BMW pack as possible. As it stands right now, Pedro Miguel is the current lap leader out of the 12 Porsches that are remaining for the race start here. Theo Lupu has made up a ton of time. He's now within 0.6 seconds of Pedro. Hot on his heels is John Wessor, who's trying to get maybe the last bit of pace squeezed out of his car as he comes up behind Rangy there in his BMW. So it's going to slow John down a little bit coming into turn 11 here. Rangy giving him the room. Keep an eye out to see if Wessor jumps up in the standings there. Theodore Ensbury, again, he's only 0.04 seconds off the time of Wessor, so their top 4 are quite quick today. And we have a slight step, a half-second gap down to Keyshawn Hall, Luke Filippone, Evan Gramke, Keisha Sicoccio, Randy Cruz, Fred Rose, Joe West, and Emmett Howell, who is rounding out the P12 for the Porsches. Dropping down to the 10 remaining BMWs, we got Don Bassell out there, who's setting the current pace. He's got about a 1 second gap on Augusto Floriano, so he's flying out there. Augusto, no slouch of pace here either, as he's looking to improve his times. We'll see if he can get a little closer to that time of Bassell. Rangy Rover coming into the final final corner here. We'll see if he can improve on his time. Not sure if he's going to have it here. Actually, I think he's still on his out lap. Yeah, he is. So we're going to start seeing his time tick up here now. So Ranger's got another lap and a half to best his time here. Mauricio Delgado in P5. Dennis Johnson quietly sitting in the pits, happily in P6. Sean Patterson still out there turning laps in P7. Mark Sutton and Diego Junquez are both in the pits for now. I think they're settling with their P8 and P9 positions respectively. And Matthew Tapia, sorry, in his green car are P10 for the BMWs. So Pedro Miguel is pitted, Theo Lupo is pitted, John Wysorek is still out there trying to find the last bit of pace out there. Don't think it's going to happen for him right now. As you can see, the timer at the bottom of your screen is not ticking up. That means he's gone invalid. He's going to have 1 lap left to get this sorted out as he comes across the start-finish line. So hopefully John can find the last little bit. Pedro Megales, however, has found the 142s and quite deep into them. He's down into a 142.6, so expect to see his time grow against Theo Lupo and John as the race goes on here. So incredible driving there from Pedro. Your top 3 down in the BMWs, Don Bassell. Jared Svetek up in 2nd place. Flying lap from him put him 0.4 seconds off the pace of Brit. So those two should be fun to watch. Dom is no stranger to defending and no stranger to attacking on the racetrack. Recently just finished a CR1 Cup with him, and it was a blast all the way to the end for sure, battling it out with him. A little time loss there to traction control, I think, there for Dom as they're coming into P11 here. So he's going to cut a little bit wide there and allow the other car behind him to fly by. And 1 minute left here for these guys to get on track. I think Pedro's just out there to do a flying victory lap. No real reason for him to be out there except for just maybe trying what it feels like to run with full fuel. As he runs almost a perfect line around that hairpin corner following the parabolica. Doesn't look like John Wysorek's going to be able to score that time. So here you are. The class leaders are Pedro Megales and Don Bassell, and P2, P3 for the Porsche are Theo Lupo and John Wysorek, and for the BMWs is Jared Svetek and Augusto Floriano. So those are your cars to watch for the night. Hopefully they don't lose any time out there. They're going to be flying. Bit of a gap between those top 3 and the next group of guys. Not a lot. Theo Insbury's right on the heels of Wysorek, and Keyshawn Hall's only 0.6 seconds in behind per lap there. With 90 minutes of racing, however, that gap will cause a little bit of distance between the cars. That's where the class differences come in, and we're going to see a lot of overtaking between the Porsches and the BMWs as we get to racing here. We are 1 minute out from race start, so that now's the time to get up, get a drink, and settle in for 1.5 hours of HockenheimRing. I'm Scotty G. I'll be your commentator for the night. If you are just joining us, we are at HockenheimRing in Germany. We're doing 90 minutes with the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup and the BMW M235i sedan. So both cars are fitted with full roll cages and what have you. But there's obvious differences in the power that these cars are making up, as well as their weight. You'll see it on track. The aero kit on the Porsches makes up for a lot of speed on the track. So the lights are lighting. And lights out, away we go. Let's look down to turn 1. Things are looking pretty clean so far. Not seeing any accidents as we drive down through T1 here. No cars spinning off just yet. Looks like everyone in the Porsche class is away clean. Going down to the BMW classes, we're going to hop on board with Don Bassell to the car with him, as we see what it looks like to get into the T2 here. Pulling out into the Parabolica, and we should watch these Porsches pull away quite rapidly. So making a fair bit more power and a much more slippery car than the BMWs. Looking off his back wing, we see the trail of the BMWs behind him, as Dom's got himself about 1 second gap on Floriano in front of him. As we have a yellow flag come up here, down in the a little bit of contact there between the Porsches. Everyone got away cleanly though. I think Theo Lupu and John Wysork had a little bit of a touch as they do it again here. Theo Lupu getting on the quarter panel of John Wysork. Both escape harm there as Theodore Insbury's now right on the tail of Lupu coming into T11. Stuff here for these guys. See off the back wing here, Theo, how close Dom is behind, or sorry, Theodore Insbury is behind him in that yellow Deutsche Post car. Both of them a little bit wide here in the final turn to make up as much track as possible. Get a good run here from the start finish line. Peter McGallis is already up 2.5 seconds, almost 3 seconds off that first lap, so he's got a flying pace. Even though he did have a little bit of off track there in sector 3. Looking down at Theo Insbury. He's got to be kind of careful here though, because even though he is attacking Theo Lupu off back into his car, he's got Keyshawn Hall right on him. And Keyshawn will seek to make position wherever he can. He's not afraid to attack. He will try to get you to make mistakes and capitalize on them. Keyshawn's quick to smell blood in the water and will attack when he can. Things further down the leaderboard here, Luke Filippone's got a bit of a gap now between him and Keyshawn Hall, about a 1.1 second gap between those two. So there's a little bit of time going between them. On Howell is about 0.7 seconds in behind TJ. Down to the BMW class, things are getting a little bit interesting here between Rangy and Jared Svetek. Less than 0.1 seconds in between these guys here. Cap with Rangy taking the inside, all of that apex. You see still side by side with Jared. As these two come around Mercedes. Still side by side racing here. Okay, there you go. So it looks like Rangy will make that pass stick as Jared tries to go back on the inside of him. Rangy going way wide there. He's well off track, so he's going to lose a fair bit of time there as he's trying to get out of the gravel pit. A little bit too hard of a pusher from Rangy as we see those Porsches coming up and behind him. Meanwhile, the two Pixum cars there of Dennis Johnson and Mauricio Delgado are battling it out. There's only 0.2 seconds in behind between those two coming out of the front straight. We're seeing the green car of Rangy off in the distance and behind them now. Sorry, there's Matthew Tapia. Just behind those guys. Up closer to the front of the Porsche pack here, Theo Lupu is working to get back to John Wysork. He is now within half a second of him. grandstands there. Great spot to have seats because you have the car slowing down. Lots of times you see passing and having to occur in this section. As you see these guys make their way around, taking a bit of curb. There's Theo. Hopefully he doesn't lose traction because of it. And there's a bit of a gutter there you got to watch out for, especially in these Porsches. The stiffer setup, that gutter can pull your car off balance and send you spinning. Iman Howell currently battling it out down for P8 right now with TJ Scoccio as they make their way into socks. Gap starting to grow there now as TJ makes a good line there, so he's got himself up almost a 0.5 second gap time there. Down the back of the BMW action, we have Mauricio Delgado. He and Dennis Johnson are still slugging out here with those two Pixie cars as they make their way into socks. You still have to be cognizant that there's another race class in the track with you. Those Porsches will come up very quickly, and you can find yourself accidentally punting or being punted by one of the flying Porsches. Wasting no time after his off track, we got Rangy Rover down in P9 right now, I think it is. P8, sorry. Now P7. The two of he and Sean Patterson are going down the front straight here, so the Canadians making him work for that pass as Rangy makes his way around. Rangy, who started in 4th place, he's working his way back up to get back to that spot. Looks like Iman Howell and Evan Gramke, sorry, TJ Scoccio, are duking it out again, coming into Mercedes. Hopefully no touch here. Good stuff. So you see Iman had a bit of a cleaner line. He may get a run on TJ here because of that. Looks like he loses lots of bit of time there from the slide, so he's back down to almost a second behind TJ Scoccio. So another safe sector there for TJ as they go into socks in sector 3. So still fairly close racing here for the most part. About a second and a half gap between most of the cars, except for this car right here of Pedro Magalas. He is currently riding with 3.3 seconds off the time of that red and white Porsche of John Wazorek. So very rapid pace from Pedro. He's probably only being slowed down from having to pass the BMWs. So he, where he has clean air, he's going to capitalize and he'll be off in the distance in no time. Looks like TJ Scoccio came together with Iman Howell, and the two of them spun. TJ getting the worst of it, as you can see in the distance there. Iman has now set about 7 seconds ahead of him. So unfortunate bump there from Iman and TJ coming together. Things are starting to get tight down in the BMW class, P4 and P3. Dennis Johnson and Jared Svetek as they're making their way around. Down into turn 2 here. So this is the Parabolica now. This is where a lot of pace can be made up, especially when you have a draft. We're going to see how this works out for Dennis Johnson from the view of Jared Svetek. Rover starting to pile up a bit of track abuse there, so he's cutting track again. Here we go, the pass attempt's going to start. Let's see if he can outbrake him here. Yes, he can. Side by side, getting on the inside, forcing Jared to go wide there. So, a little inside pass there from Dennis Johnson as they make their way back down to Mercedes. Jared said, I'm not done yet. He's coming back at him now. He's got now 0.2 seconds in between as he gets right on the bumper of him coming into this turn. And sticking with him through 9 and 10 as they come on. Looks like Dennis may have got a little bit of a better turn there on him. I think we may have an off track here from Evan and Keyshawn Hall up in the Porsches. As you can see the smoke in the distance there, so there may have been a little bit of contact or slide from those guys as they're making their way off into the Parabolica. The Theos Insbury and Lupu coming into the hairpin. These two are within 0.1 seconds of each other. I should pull up from Lupu's view here, the gap. But we'll watch it from the tower right now. So the yellow of Insbury and the blue of Lupu as you're into turns 8, 9, and 10 here. Like I said before, these curves can be quite treacherous, especially if you clatter over them on full power as they look to avoid the gutter there of the exit of turn 10. So let's see what happens here between these guys as they come into this final sector here. Theo can get a good run on Theodore. Oh, it looks like Insbury, awesome launch out of that Sox corner coming into the final two as he makes himself up 0.2, which doesn't sound like a lot of time, but in racing that's forever. Coming onto the front straight, trying to break the draft from Theo Lupu. Down to the BMW class, Dennis Johnson is still continuing to catch up Augusto Floriano. He has made about a second and a half on Jared Svetek as they're making their way around lap 6 here at Hockenheim. He's got himself now within 0.69 of the car in front, and that is Augusto Floriano. So he's still working hard to battle it out. It looks like, oh yeah, you got him on braking there for sure, so he made up almost 0.3 seconds just under braking on that Sox corner. Like I said before, if you get turns, the last two turns here done right, you can treat them as one corner. As Dennis Johnson does just that, making up even more time now, coming down this front straight. I have a sneaking suspicion we're going to see a pass attempt here coming in after turn 1 here, into the braking zone for turn 2. As this is a very tight corner, it's over 90 degrees, so you got to really slow down properly, set yourself up for the apex. And it looks like he's not going to have the gap for it there. Try again here as a good parabolica. Looking down for the front bumper here of Dennis Johnson's mixer on BMW. Tightening it up, coming in on the inside here as the two of them come in. Augusto Floriano slamming the door on Dennis Johnson, taking over that apex and saying, no thank you. You have to try harder than that if you want to get past me. While these two are battling it out, they've now dropped almost 3 seconds to the current class leader of Don Bassell. So he's comfortably out ahead of those guys, focusing on building that gap right now. Looks like Augusto's under attack here again from Johnson. Oh, as Johnson finds the gravel, and he's going to lose a ton of time there. He's lost almost a second just from that little touch on the gravel, and may come under attack now from Jared Svetek, as Jared saw him go off. The downside to hitting the gravel here is not just time lost, you're also going to pick up debris onto your tires and lose traction, so he's going to find himself going wide in the corners now until he can clean those tires off and then get back to making pace. Rangy Rover recovering from his off track. He is now within 0.6 seconds of P5, chasing down Mauricio Delgado. Rangy is another driver who will pressure you and wait you out. He won't use his car as a battering ram if he can avoid it to get by. He does love 10 top racing for sure, but ooh, you can see that loose setup of Rangy again starts to bite at him. He has managed to keep it under control here and is losing a little bit of time to Delgado into the straight. But as you can see, that draft is going to start making that number reverse as he's starting to climb back down now. So quickly gaining time back on Delgado as they come into the hairpin here. Looks looks like he had a much better line than Delgado through there, so he's going to make up almost 0.3 seconds to stop that one turn alone. Coming down into Mercedes here now. Hard braking there from Rangy. Nose dives down on that car. Coming into the second half here of the back straight as they push down to turn 11. It looks like TJ Sicoccio has had an accident. Yes, he is stationary on the track. Not too sure what happened to TJ with that battle there of Rangy. Yeah, so TJ has abandoned the race there. I think he had an accident there. I saw some yellow flags come up. Unfortunately, I wasn't quick enough to catch what happened. It's retirement now for TJ Sicoccio as we watch door-to-door racing here from Rangy and Delgado. So those guys are pushing hard here on the start-finish line. And it looks like Rangy's going to make that pass stick. Further up the board, Dennis Johnson's now making work against Augusto Floriano. Coming into turn 2 here. He's much closer this time around, within 0.1 seconds. So the battles have been, for the most part, with these BMWs. They're much more tightly grouped here. As you can see, even on this parabolic of the two of them are a quarter pound here, where they try to make position coming around. Johnson tucking back in behind Augusto as he drops in and out. Maybe a connection issue there for Augusto. As Dennis Johnson makes that mistake. Back up in the Porsches, the FedEx car of Evan Gramke is hunting down Keyshawn Hall in his mint AMD car. The lap times between these two is about 0.8 seconds in between the two of them. That's for your quickest lap. However, your average lap also comes into play here, and I think Evan's been averaging a little bit of a better time than Keyshawn, just due to a little bit of loss of controls here and there. As you see a bit of sputter from the net code, you can see that he's still alive. As we come into lap traffic here with the BMWs, and Evan's going to capitalize on this, gaining time outside. Great move from Keyshawn, though, to use that BMW as a blocking tool and force Evan to take it offline to catch up. Evan atches back, though, as he cuts around the inside of that BMW, gets himself into turn 11, doesn't go wide. Coming down to Sox, door-to-door racing now, coming into Sox. Keyshawn's just ahead. Evan a little bit too much on the brakes. That's fine. It's better than being off track. Keep the battle alive as they come into the final two corners here. Just across the start-finish line here with Evan Gramke. So he's working to pass Keyshawn Hall. They've had 3 position changes now in the last 5 corners. So you can see those cars violently bouncing about over top of those curves. Right on the bumper of Keyshawn, the BMW in front of him. Hopefully Keyshawn doesn't manage to get stuck behind him. I think he'll use him as a blocking tool if he can. Looks like Evan got stuck around as well, so he's going to take the tow here from Keyshawn, and Keyshawn's going to block on the inside. Under hard braking, Keyshawn's going to park it right on the apex, forcing Evan to stay behind him. Quality blocking move there from Keyshawn Hall to keep Evan Gramke behind him. Some great battling here between Evan Gramke and Keyshawn Hall as they come back through the sector 2 here. Heading down towards turn 11 as Evan comes over onto the gutter a little bit. And the BMW of, I think that's Sean Patterson behind him, the white and red BMW, way wide on that corner. These guys are flying down into here. Oh, I think John West. Oh, Oh, he's into the pits. So he is taking all 4 corners, it looks like, for tires. Hopefully he takes fuel too, because this is a long race. You're not going to make it without gassing up. Back up the board here, looks like Delgado's still kind of battling with it with Rangy Rover. Rangy's made himself back up 3 positions so far from his spin that put him from 4th all the way down into down to 9th just about. So he's back up into 6th, or sorry, 8th. He's up into 5th now, racing against Delgado. Down at the tail end of the pack here, between positions 10 and 9, are Mark Sutton and Diego Yungas. Those two have been trading positions quite a bit, so great racing between those guys. We're having a blast out there. As we watch that UPS car, I think it's Randy Cruz. Yes, it is. Coming behind them, so you can see how fast these cars are going as they make their way down into the hairpin here. So, outbreaking both the BMWs is Cruz, heading back, and he's away. Battle wages on between Keyshawn Hall and Evan Gramke. Evan keeping the pressure on Keyshawn as they come back into some more lap traffic here. It looks like we have the middle pack of the BMW race occurring in front of the mirror. We've got 4 cars that are quite tight together. Sorry, 3 cars that are quite tight together of the BMW class. Coming around the front straight here, it's Keyshawn Hall being chased down by Evan Gramke. So now we got a 3-car pack in front of them as Augusto Floriano is making the pass on Rachel Delgado. And the flashing lights of Keyshawn. Hey guys, we're here. Gonna try to make this pass work here. As Keyshawn dives down the inside of that BMW, hopefully not making contact with anybody. Looks like they got away safe there. Keyshawn going off in the grass a little bit, managed to get that car under control as they come up beside Rangy Rover and his BMW. So Rangy making up again another place. He's up in the 4th position now with the BMWs as Keyshawn Hall and Evan Gramke pass him. You see Jared Svetek's BMW there just in the foreground. So he goes a little bit wide in that corner, but he manages to keep it safe. And he keeps it wide as the battling Porsches come in between him and his preferred line going into turn 7. Then he gets a bit of a cut track because of that. That's alright. He's got time behind him to serve that cut track. Though we shouldn't wait too long as Rangy Rover is the one who is chasing him down. Richard Delgado and Augusto Floriano currently working on who's going to be in P5 here. The Pixel team of Delgado and the BMW Sport of Floriano. So these two have about a half second in between them. I think Augusto's going to get a runaway here on Richo. We'll come back to those two in a little bit here to see what's going on. Looking at the very pointy end of the Porsche class, it's Pedro Megales. He's got a commanding 8.7 second lead already on John Wysork. If anyone's raced with John, you know he's no slouch out there. So you see him with an 8.6 second gap between him and Megales. Lets you know how fast Pedro's going out there. He's currently running 143.647. Is his last lap time. For some reason, my info's not coming up for the driver. There it is. So yeah, if you're in first place, it doesn't do car compare with the car ahead, so it just gives you nothing. So you can see there, Pedro's best lap time is 1:43.5, which is a flying lap. We've yet to see the BMWs crack that 152 barrier. Some of them are getting kind of close. We got a 153.7 from, I think that's Augusto Floriano. Mon Howell is currently chasing Randy Cruz, so we've got an accident here. We're going to drop down to see what's going on there. There it is there. So Augusto Floriano has spun off, and he has lost a lot of time from that one. I'm not too sure what happened. He may have had contact with Delgado, as those two were quite tight racing. We didn't see any damage on his car, but it's unfortunate for Augusto. He's going to have to work to come back to the 7.6 second gap he has on Delgado. Up closer to the front, Jared Svetek was overtaken by Rangy Rover and is currently being pulled away by. He's sitting at about 0.6 second gap from Rangy as they come into the final two corners here. Like I said, Rangy loves to have a loose setup. It works for him when it's working. He can absolutely fly. The problem is when it gets away from him, it's tough to catch that car and make time back. We're almost at the 1 hour, half-hour mark of this race. We got 1 hour and 4 minutes left at HockenheimRing. The action being provided here by the North America Race Room Group. If you haven't done it yet, have a look in our comment section there. Leave a like and sign up for our Discord if you want some racing with folks who love it, the sport, and love to race clean. Have a blast out there. Have a laugh at the end of the race always. Just watching the pace of that Porsche coming around the outside of these two as they battle it out, it's impressive. The BMWs are outbraking the Porsche a little bit there as they're trying to figure out which order they should come out of that corner with. Jared giving him a wide berth, and that's going to cost him a bit of time, unfortunately, as Rangy pulls away from him. The yellow and black car, Theodore Ensbury, currently riding around in PE3 for the Porsche class. Who's going to hop in the cab again as he's making his way around the track here. He ran a 144.227. That's his best lap time out there right now. A little bit of track trouble on the last lap there, invalidating before him, but he's holding within 3.3 seconds of the red car ahead of you there, John Westore, as these two make their way around the parabolic bend. So this corner is probably the hardest on the car for wear, as you're having a high-speed right-hand corner. Just a little puff of smoke from the brakes. John Westore's car. Pushing it back now towards Mercedes. Just taking a quick lap ride here with Theodore Ensbury as he's pushing his Deutsche Post car around the track here. See, it's a bit of a blind entrance here into turn 11. You gotta kind of trust your judgment, not overcommit to that corner where you shoot long into the gravel here. Unfortunately, not like most tracks where you have a nice long run out, like the Formula 1 style run out. It's all gravel here at HockenheimRing. They don't have much in the way of room for cars to go. It's a flying lap there with Theo Ensbury as he's trying to make some time up on John Weissor. He's done so. He made 0.2 seconds, which doesn't sound like a lot, but in terms of racing, that's a time. Ooh, right in front of Dennis Johnson, Dom Vassell. Just slammed into the wall. Unfortunate turn of events there for Dom Vassell, who was your race leader up until this point, as he gets slammed into by a Porsche. Oh my goodness. I think that was, no. Who was that? Is that Fred Ross? No. I have no idea who that was. Is it Joe West? It was the car of Joe West. Just T-boning Dom Vassell, so luck was running out for him. It got worse as the yellow flags are flying on the track here. Randy Cruz has lost it now in the puff of smoke. It's very easy to lose focus on what's going on the track when you have a bunch of smoke up here in front of you, as we see the car of Joe West heading off with the pit lane there. Dom Vassell taking absolute punishment. That turn of events there. His car looks okay though. It doesn't look like he took too much damage there. It's showing 0% in the standings. I don't think that's true. He's probably got a fair bit of suspension damage. You see his car's wiggling about a little bit there when it shouldn't be, coming onto the parabolic curve. So that was a insane turn of events there for Don Bazell, as Dennis Johnson now has a 9-second gap on on Don Bazell, sorry. So yeah, the front end of Joe West's car, I think he's crumpled in quite well. He took a hard hit against the side of Bazell's BMW. It's that'll cost him time. He's going to be at the bottom of the leaderboard now from the rest of the Porsches from that. I think this is his second pit stop, so unfortunate to see how that turned out. I was worried for a second. I thought it was the yellow and white car of Pedro Morales that hit Dom. It would have been your two race leaders coming together down there, but it was not him. Pedro's out there just doing his own thing. He's now up 12 seconds on John Wysork, so we can watch him masterfully come around the slap here as he passed that BMW. It's all clean air in front of Pedro, it looks like, for the most part. We'll sit in the car with him. Because that's the corner that, or part of the wall there that caught Dom on the left-hand side of the screen. Just get a quick little flash of it, and yeah, if you just so much as touch the wall, going at that pace, it's going to throw your car around backwards. Stuff there from Pedro, he goes around again. Smoke there from Evan Gramke. I think one of the BMWs may have made a bad turn there. Yeah, Augusto Floriano, BMW, spun a little bit. So, as he spins again. So I said it before, and I'll say it again, if you go off track and you come back on quickly, you're going to find yourself losing traction again because your car's got no grip. Your tires have cooled a little bit. You pull a bunch of grass debris over that hot, sticky rubber, and next thing you know, you're going to be driving on what feels like polished glass surface until that grass and debris flies off. Down to P7, Evan Gramke's got a little bit of a gap now behind Keyshawn Hall, so Keyshawn's been working hard to separate himself from the attacking Gramke. These two have been racing quite closely. There's been, I think, 4 or 5 changes of position between the two of them. Clean all of it, though. No side to side, no doors or anything like that ripped off yet. But these two continue to stay within 3 seconds of each other, as Evan makes up almost half a second there on Keyshawn just from that last little second. He's now within 2 seconds of Keyshawn Hall. Down at the tail end of the Porsches, we got Fred Rose and Randy Cruz in the UPS car in front of them there. These two make their way down into P2. A little bit of hood damage there, it looks like, on Fred Rose's car, so he may have found a barrier there as well. Possibly the same one that Don Bazell found, as we have another accident here. I think that's Evan Gramke, yes. So Evan Gramke's gone off. As he's working to get himself back up. He's coming into Mercedes, so he probably overcooked it a little bit coming into that corner, turn 7. And once these cars start going, it's tough to get them back. So he lost 4 seconds there to Keyshawn Hall. So he's working quickly to make that time back up. As you see Keyshawn just kind of disappearing around socks there in front of him. Back down at the back here is Fred Ross is still chasing down Randy Cruz. As you got a bit of lap traffic there with Keyshawn Hall making the pass on that Pixum car in the foreground. Here's where things are going to get interesting. And these guys keep it tidy coming around socks with that slower car and then whoop. We'll looks like it's going to be okay there. Down in the BMW group, a little bit behind these guys is a battle happening. We got Jared Svetek and Rangy Rover duking it out. There's not much between the two of them. Just watching the names kind of flicker back and forth here as Rangy again finds his car loose setup, biting him back a little bit there as they come into the final 2 corners. See what Jared can do here, and hopefully he can capitalize on Rangy if he gets a bit of a slide again. Rangy seems okay. He's got the car now under control. Jared closing in on him a little bit. As you can see, the gap in between them is shrinking and growing quite rapidly. Jared will use every effort here to get a little bit of a tow from Rangy, close that gap. As these two make their way down. Parabolica coming into the hairpin. We just crested over the half-hour mark. We have 54 minutes left here at HockenheimRing. You're currently watching a battle between Jared Svetek and Rangy Rover as these two make their way down into the hairpin following Parabolica. Tight turn here as Rangy gets on the power early. A little bit of a wiggle from his car as he makes some time away from Jared Svetek, almost a second away. Things are getting a little bit more interesting down at the back end of the Porsche group here. We've got Iman Howell, Randy Cruz, and Fred Ross all within a second of each other as they make their way around into Sox. So these 3 cars putting pressure on each other to reorder themselves as they come around the final 2 corners here onto the front straight. The car in front being Iman Howell, the AMD car, and then you've got the red and white Alpine Star car of Randy Cruz, Fred Ross, who is currently getting overtaken and then taken back from Randy Cruz. So here we go again. These two start making their way along. Coming down to the braking zone here. Side by side stuff. Fred Ross does not allow Cruz to get the outside corner on him, so they're going to make their way out on the Parabolica once more. And we should see a pass attempt here again from opting not to take the draft there, actually, of Cruz. As they come into the hairpin here. Wide stuff there from Iman Howell as the other two come together and behind him, so they're going to lose time with both each other. And Iman cannot get the touch. Hard on the attack there is Randy Cruz as they come around the corner here into turn 10. Onto that second straight. Some great stuff here now from these guys down positions 8 through 10. As they work around the turn 11, all 3 of them staying away from that gravel trap on the left-hand side. Coming down to Sox now. And we'll watch them come across the start finish line one more time before we move on to a run down the leaderboard here. We're almost 40 minutes into this race. At this point, we've only had 1 retirement, and TJ Sacoccio, I think he had a little bit of damage on the track. As we see Fred Ross pull off to go into the pits. So Randy Cruz is now in behind Iman Howell at 1.6 second gap. Race leader, Pedro Magales, is now up to a 15-second gap on John Wysork. As he makes his way around T1, bouncing off the curbs a little bit there. John Wysork's red and white car coming in behind the red and black of Don Bessel. So those two make their way across the front straight. Don having a bit of bad luck there earlier on where he clipped the wall and spun sideways, just to be followed up with a T-bone attempt there from Joe West. Theo Winsbury sitting in third in his yellow and black Deutsche Post car. Theo Lupa has been keeping it very clean. We haven't seen his name come up too much here for damage or yellow flags. Only when he's passing cars who are off track. Theo working well out there as he pulls himself down into the turn 2 through 4 combo here onto that massive left hand of the Parabolica. About 12 seconds behind him is the other blue car of Luke Filippone. So both guys are driving the GoPro car. 42, of course, so it's tough to tell those two apart. As we have a yellow flag here coming up. Who is that? It just cleared itself. I'm not sure. Somebody had an off-track, I guess, excursion, but nobody crashed out. So we're gonna go back to Keyshawn Hall in his mint green and white AMD car. He's about 10 seconds in behind Luke Filippone. And I think Evan Gramke had a little bit of a spin there, and it cost him a fair bit of time to Keyshawn. And lap traffic has not been helping him. He's now 23 seconds down behind Keyshawn Hall in his purple and white FedEx. Iman Howell in the other AMD car. He's been battling it out quite well here with Randy Cruz. Those guys, there was 3 of them in a battle. Randy Cruz being now 0.5 seconds in behind. Fred Ross was battling with them, but Fred Ross has decided that he's done for the race. And you see his car is looking in much better condition now because he's pitted out, so I think the damage got to him. And he said, no thank you, I will call it here. Moving down to the BMW class, the orange and yellow Pixum car. Let's go to driver info so you can see his name here. Dennis Johnson. I don't know why he's picked a flea as his logo, but hey man, whatever. The previous race leader of Don Bassell is currently 10 seconds in behind him, making up time slowly against the race leader. Don was leading the race until an unfortunate turn of events where he found himself crashing a little bit on turn 11, just to be T-boned by a Porsche class car. Looks like Keyshawn Hall may have an off here. Yes, Keyshawn Hall out of turn 1. So like I said before, you get into that curve a little bit too much, you're going to find yourself spinning. As we watch, I think that's Joe West. Yes, Joe West just flying by him in his marred Porsche. Joe's been having a little bit of off-track excursion out there. It's been a bit rough on him. Let's watch back to Don Bassell in P2 for the BMW class. P3 belongs right now to Rangy Rover. He had a spin early on, got himself all the way down to P8, but through pure grit and determination, he's found himself back up into position 3. So fantastic stuff there from Rangy. Hopefully keep the 4 wheels underneath his car for the rest of this race. Jared Svetek, he's been very cleanly out there racing. He's now almost 3.5 seconds in behind Rangy. However, his night has been fairly uneventful aside from what we saw in practice when he was docking with the, and he was practicing his gravel runs. So I think we pause here. So it looks like we have a battle forming up here for P2 between Theo Ensbury and John Wysork, as these guys are making their way onto the Parabolica. So we may see a pass attempt here from Theo Ensbury. We will come back down and continue on with our coverage of the list here with Mauricio Delgado after we watch this pass attempt here from Theo Ensbury. Heavy under the braking, Theo down on the inside, pushing John Wide. We'll see if we have an over-under attempt here from John Wysork as the two go side by side. So yes, they're going to be flying in here as a classic inside-outside move from John Wysork sticks. And both of them go quite wide into that corner coming into the Mercedes. I don't think they're going to get track cut or slow down penalties, hopefully. Looks like they both got away with that one safely. So a fantastic inside-outside turn there from Theo Ensbury and John Wysork. I think, yes, there was a little bit of an incident here. Matt Tapia and Mark Sutton at the very back here had a little bit of a counter collection and spun themselves out. Both are back on track and safely away. Appears Keyshawn Hall has pitted, yes, and he is taking all 4 tires. And we're going to get back down into the leaderboard here with Mauricio Delgado in P5 with the BMWs. Delgado, he is riding 4.5 seconds away from Jared Svetek, who's got a yellow light because he just went off track and still trying to keep it on board here. So we're going to watch a little bit of a battle attempt here as Jared and Mauricio duke it out. And it looks like yes. So Delgado does make the pass on Svetek from that little slide that Svetek has. Amazing how fast things can change on this track because of those curbs and because these tires are starting to wear. So you may see Jared decide now it's time to pit at the 45-minute mark. Theolupu just dropped into the pits. You see his name's bouncing down the leaderboard. So nothing wrong with his car. Jared's opting out for passing right now. He's going to work on this battle with Delgado. Almost half a minute in behind these guys is Sean Patterson. He's been racing a fairly quiet race. Hasn't hit anybody or been hit. So he's been doing his thing out there, and it's working for him. He's currently sitting at P6. So great stuff there from the lone Canadian of Sean Patterson. Diego Younges, he's had a couple of off traffics. You can see his name come up on the side of the page there, or side of your screen, where he's been cutting track. Hopefully his incident points don't climb too high and he gets disqualified for it, but currently residing in P7. 2.5 seconds behind him is Augusto Floriano. He had a bit of a spin earlier on and it's causing him some issues, but he's working his way back up the leaderboard slowly. Jared Svetek has repassed Delgado as these two make their way into turn 2 here. Sorry, not into turn 2. Into the Mercedes complex. So Jared making a clean pass on Delgado and is making up a ton of time. In doing so, he is now almost 0.7 seconds ahead, coming into turn 11. Just catching that gravel. Unfortunately, he's going to slow him down and put them side by side going into socks. So here we go. Trying to find a lane. Still Delgado. Svetek's not giving it to him. As they make their way into the final 2 corners here, we may see a late attempt to go into the pits. Nope, neither one says they want to pit right now. They're going to keep this battle going for our amusement. So I love it. Great stuff there from Jared to battle back from that pass from Delgado. Ranger Rover also in the pits now, as is Dennis Johnson, the previous leader of the BMW class. So those two are currently sitting in pits, up on all 4 tire strategy. Same with Rangy, looking for all 4 tires. For the keen-eyed viewers, if you see the cars lift up, like right now, the car's getting put up on air jacks, and they're going to change all 4 tires. Unfortunately, we don't get to see that animated for us, but if the driver's only taking front 2 or back 2 wheels, you'll see just that part of the car lift up. There is strategy in that. In taking just 2 or 4 sets of wheels, you can cut down on the amount of time that you're sitting in the pits. And if it's, if you can make 10 seconds doing it, and you know you can keep a 10-second gap on the driver behind you by the end of the race, then it totally makes sense to get out there and push it. It's just a little bit of mayhem there in the pits, but everyone seems to be safe there. There's no collisions in the pits, which is nice. That would have been a bad day for Rangy, and I think that's Sean Patterson. Yes, Sean Patterson not in the pits. Currently watching Augusto Floriano chase down Diego Younges as those two come down into the hairpin. Making a ton of time right now is Floriano as these two make their turn around the hairpin. Floriano's going to maintain that gap and push hard now to try to make a way inside coming into turn 7 here. This right-hand corner, if you get it right, you can carry a lot of speed into that braking area as you watch a Porsche collect up and behind them. I think that's Keyshawn Hall now coming in behind them. Yes, it is. So you can see how tight it is for Keyshawn, trying to make his time back up after taking a pit stop, passing one car, and now passing the other as the BMW behind him. This is a bit of time because of that. So wide apex there as well from Diego, just because of Keyshawn in the Porsche choosing the inside line. Totally allowed, wasn't a dangerous pass at all. It's one of the realities of racing, multi-class racing, is the car in behind is responsible for making that safe pass. But if they choose a position, you have to respect that. You can't just slam the door on them. You're not racing with them, you're racing racing your race and they're racing theirs. So it looks like Diego has pulled into the pits as Augusto Floriano is off into the distance into P1 or T1, sorry. So far yet to pit in the classes. I don't think it shows it because it's not a mandatory pit for some reason on this race. So you won't see any lights come up on the side here to let you know who's pitted and who's not. Yeah, so no mandatory pit in this race, which is insane to think because 90 minutes is a long time to be driving without a pit. I don't think I'd have tires left if I were to push a car around this for 90 minutes, especially at the pace of this rocket ship being driven by Pedro Magales. As you can see, the Evan Gramke, it's just in behind him there. So Evan's on just been lapped by Pedro in his Hertz yellow and white Porsche. These GT3 Cup cars are purpose-built for racing, so they're pretty much right out of the factory. You can just take them straight to the track with minimal upgrades. I mean, stickers and probably some track data gear. But from there, it's mostly just they come fully loaded with scaffolding and a wing set on the back of them, and you can take them out for a lap. As you watch Evan Gramke go very wide out of turn 1 there, using all the curb, I think. The other yellow and white car, Joe West, is riding around. It says he's battling with Dom Bissell for P10, but that's not the case here. We see Dom off in the distance there going to the Mercedes complex. We're just watching West. He's going to overtake one of the BMWs here. I believe that is Jared Svetek. No, that's Sean Patterson. So hard over the curbs there is Joe West. And Sean Patterson is going to do his best here to get out of his way. Looks like we have Theo Lupu coming in behind. Yes, Theo Lupu is coming in behind as well. So Patterson's going to have to adjust his line as Joe West again finds the gravel. And he's hopefully going to get himself back safe there in the background of his Porsche. Yes, he's back on track safely. So Iman Howell is chasing down Keyshawn Hall. Keyshawn looks like he's been overtaken in time. I think that's from a pit stop. Evan Gramke's up in 6th now. Keyshawn's down into 7th. And Iman in 8th place is doing what he can to catch up and make an overtake here on Keyshawn. You can see the class leader Don Bissell is currently in the pits and is about to be overtaken by Jared Svetek for P1. As Jared himself pulls into pits, and just because of box position, Jared's now your P1 race leader for the next 20 seconds possibly before Dom. Yeah, so Dom's going to come back out and take race lead there. So after that pit stop, Dom is maintaining a 12-second gap on Delgado, who's in 2nd now, and we have some yellow lights here. What's going on? Looks like it's clearing up. Oh, I think it's Joe. Yes, Joe West has gone way deep into that hairpin corner and caused a yellow flag to appear. Luckily, nobody was collected in that. The downside to having a yellow flag on the track is if you do any overtaking, you will get a stop and go penalty from the stewards because you're not supposed to be doing that kind of stuff when the yellow flag is being shown. Fortunately for us, there's no overtaking occurring there, so no drive-through, no stop and go penalties for the drivers because of that. Rangy, who did pit, he's now down into 6th place in his class. He's chasing Floriano around Parabolica, trying to get back into position here. He was all the way up into 3rd position, but due to that pit stop, he's been back down to 6th. But I think Floriano is yet to pit, so this pass, after it does happen, will probably grow to like a 30-second gap just because of the pit stop time. retirements so far in the race. Fred Ross and TJ Sicoccio. Sicoccio was retired at the about the 15-minute mark. I think he had damage to his car and couldn't continue. And Fred Ross was also having the same sort of incident. However, his occurred around the 45-minute mark. As we are approaching the 35-minute mark remaining in this race at Hockenheim, in Germany. So we got two classes tonight. We've got the Porsche 911 GT3 Cups, and we've also got these cars you're watching right now, the BMW M235is. Not much distance in between horsepower-wise. You've got a 450 horsepower in the Porsches and the 333 of these BMWs, but the weight class of the BMWs is almost 200 kilograms more. So your power-to-weight ratio is quite a bit higher in the Porsches, and they're also equipped with a much more slippery car design with that huge spoiler hanging over the back end of it. As you can see, Pedro Megales is currently putting laps down, got himself a 20-second gap on P2 and John West, who's almost a minute ahead of Theo Onboard. He's coming to the last two corners here. I believe the car behind him is Luke Filippone, yes. So the two GoPro cars there. Luke Filippone is currently charging up behind, using this chance to kind of take the race leader's line and pace to make up time on Theo Lupu. And it's working out for him. He's cutting about 0.2 seconds a lap faster here than Theo Lupu is. So you can see that number dwindle at the bottom of your screen because he is using Pedro Megales, kind of like a driving instructor, going around the track, showing him this is the fast way, follow me, kid, as well as the toe. Joe West in for his third pit stop of the night. Hopefully taking tires there and not having to repair any more damage. He has a couple of off tracks tonight, so it's not been going his way. He's a little bit better than a lap off the lead time, just because of his off-track excursions. So back out on track goes Joe West. Dom Purcell, the race leader for the BMWs. 17 seconds in behind him is Jared Svetek, who's been racing an absolutely fantastic race. Aside from a little bit of wobbling into the gravel, Jared's been flying to keep getting his car up in second place. See the white and red of the Red Bull car there being driven by Jared as Joe West comes around the outside of him. And hopefully the two of them will come together into this hairpin. So you can see there the braking distance differences between those two cars. The BMW well outbraking that Porsche. The Porsche's having to work way harder to make that pass stick. So it looks like he's got a fair bit of clean air out in front of him as he comes around socks into the final few corners here before the start-finish line. The BMWs have completed 30 laps of this track so far. There's only a lap difference in between the start and finish of that class, so not a lot in between these guys. It's been very tight racing with the BMWs, which is great to see. Things are a little bit different up in the Porsche class here. The race leader has turned 34 laps. P2 has turned 34, and P3 is sitting at 33 laps. P10, however, is sitting at 30 laps. There's almost a 4-lap gap between the top 10 cars remaining in the Porsche class. As you see, the lap traffic is getting very interesting here for Pedro Megales. He gives a wide berth to that mid-green car. Not Rangy, but of Matthew Tapia. So these Porsches are pulling around really quite rapidly. Scare, I'm sure, as they're making their race. We got Theo Insbury making a pass inside here on the two Pixum cars. These guys currently 0.1 seconds inside each other as they're starting to come around Parabolica. This should get very instant here very quickly because with this tow, you should see a pass attempt occur just after this rumble strip here on the left near the curb. I guess I'm not going to pick who's going to go where for this lane. Under hard braking coming in. On the power a little bit earlier is Dennis Johnson. So Dennis is going to make a pass here on Delgado. Delgado kind of left the door open a little bit there and not taking a defensive line coming into that hairpin. But maybe Delgado was looking for the pace to pass back here in Mercedes. Dennis Johnson taking the much more aggressive defensive there to prevent that. We see the UPS Porsche tucking in behind them as this is not the place to make a pass on that car. It's too easy to lose control. And again into socks. These guys are battling it over the final few corners. Dennis Johnson using that as an opportunity to make a nice little gap now. He's almost 0.8 seconds on the car behind him. As they make their way up to the start finish line. So yeah, the leaderboard for the Porsches has gapped up quite considerably. Howell is 18.5 seconds away from Randy Cruz. Randy Cruz is almost 11 seconds away from Evan Gramke. Gramke's running about 35 seconds in behind Keyshawn Hall, so that's a little less than half a lap in behind. Keyshawn Hall again is 35 seconds in behind Luke Filippone in his blue GoPro car. Luke has the closest battle going right now for the Porsche class with a 7-second difference off Theo Lupu, who's sitting up in the fourth. As Yaman Howell finds himself going off track a little bit there and retiring from the race. So we were a third retirement. All of these cars retiring from the Porsche class. I'm not sure what's going on there. I'm showing him retiring and not retired. Weird glitches going on there. We'll keep an eye on that. Oh, it was John Wysork. The game automatically cut over to him. I thought there was something going on weird there. So John Wysork into the pit now, taking all 4 corners and hopefully getting back on track without wasting too much time. Pedro Migueles is yet to pit. We should see him in there soon. Theo Ensbury is going to make that difference up here, I think, on John Wysork. And we should see something close here, as I think, yeah, Wysork is leaving the pits. So yeah, there's 2 seconds in behind, 1 second. So Wysork is just ahead of this gang here in that white and red striped Porsche. Just beside him is West, Theo Ensbury, and I think that is Evan Gramke as, oh my goodness, another door banger from Joe West as he comes into the side of Evan Gramke's FedEx car. So we're watching Ensbury here coming in. Right on the back end of Wysork's car. John safe. So I think we may see a gap in the race here a little bit. John Wysork is coming to Mercedes. I don't think Theodore's tires are in a spot to make that pass right now. We'll see. Just at 26 minutes left to the end of the race here. We've got a fairly wide margin between first and second place, Migueles and Wysork. I expect Migueles should be in the pit here soon, but his pace has been very quick this entire race. We have yet to see him falter or drop a lap anything outside of 145. So flying laps from Migueles out there. Almost the same can be said for Mr. Bissell in the BMW class. He's been racing a beautiful race, aside from the shenanigans about a half hour ago, where he touched the wall and was bumped into by one of the Porsche cars. But it looks like he got away without too much damage to his car. He's back in P1 and is continuing to gain time on Jared Svettek behind him, who's about 18.5 seconds in behind. It does look like we have a bit of a battle going again here in P2 and P3. To watch Leo Ensberg's front bumper here coming down to the hairpin. Ensberg showing the nose is going to go inside. And a little bit wide here. Back on the power. Try to catch up on this one. On the opposite side of the thing, John's view. Taking a little bit of curves here. Left-hand corner here. See that Porsche Ensberg diving right onto his rear bumper here. 0.4 seconds in here. It's 2.5 now. As they come around turn 11 here. So you can get the better launch coming out of this corner as you watch Ensberg's car bounce around a little bit over that curve. Now down into the socks. Bumper to bumper racing as they pass the BMW. Into turns 13, 14. Now the hard right turn. Ensberg's all over the back end of Weissoric here coming across the front straight. So we're going to see some interesting stuff with these guys coming into the next lap here, especially the parabolic. And a terrible camera brought to you by the guy drinking way too much during the commercial segment. As we're back into the racing here between Ensberg and Weissoric. And here's what I'm talking about, the pass at Parabolica. We're just going to compare their gap here as we watch a little bit of the gap grow and now starting to dwindle between the two cars as the drag is reduced for Ensberg because of that draft being given off by Weissoric. John Weissoric doing well to keep Peter Ensberg at bay heading down to this complex here. This section here is quite technical. It's easy to get yourself mixed up, and if you don't take this next corner here and put yourself all the way to the left-hand side, you lose so much time coming out onto this back straight that any attack that you're trying to mount on the car in front of you is a waste of time. So you can see both those guys hugging the left-hand side of the track quite heavily coming out of turn 9 into turn 10 because that's the place to make up time. These guys are neck and neck, continue to be neck and neck for 2 laps now. As we watch a little bit of bounce there from Ensberg's car coming into the final few corners. And we have a car off track again, and it is Joe West into turn 11 again in the gravel. Pulling back on the track, hopefully in the clean racing line. Doesn't think he's got around anybody else. So a safer entry there from Mr. West. As the P2 and P3, Weissoric and Ensberg make their way down into turn 2 here. Weissoric taking a very, very aggressive block here. Hopefully not setting himself up for failure on the Parabolica. Looks like he got away smartly there. Should see a pass happen. Pass attempt at least happen here. I think Ensberg's going to try for the inside line. Nope, he's just going to fake it. Force Weissoric to go in. A little bit of slide there from Weissoric, so he's not going to gain too much time from doing that. But at the same time, Ensberg looking on the break there, went wide. So he's going to try that stuff again. Coming into here now again to Mercedes Complex. Looks like Mauricio Delgado's taking a little bit of liberty with where the track should and shouldn't be, and he's getting some slowdowns for track abuse there. As you can see, the BMW classes in the background there underneath the KW sign. Some wonderful stuff here from the 2 cars battling it out for P2. Coming into the final corner here now, onto the front straight. Your race leader, Pedro Megales, is still yet to pit. He's put in 40 laps up there, so he's setting some quality lap times. He's not losing too much to the guys behind him. He's down to a 145, so you may see him decide, okay, now's the time to get in. He's only about 0.6 seconds off these two guys, and with 20 minutes left in the race, they're not going to make a minute up on him if you keep it on the straight and level. Back further with the Onboard, position 7 and 8. We're starting to get a little bit interesting now. Brandon Cruz is mounting an attack on Evan Gramke as these guys come through Sector 1 with the car of Luke Filippone just in the foreground there. And a huge pass attempt there from Randy Cruz as he overtakes Evan Gramke. Evan saying, no, I'm going to try to keep position with you here. And Randy Cruz saying, oh, I will take that back, thank you. So great pass there from Randy Cruz on Evan Gramke. Evan will be working hard to take that back from him. Down to the BMW class, Dennis Johnson is pushing on Jared Svetek as they come into turn 2 here, make their way onto the Parabolica. Again, the laps difference here between the BMWs and the Porsche is much more narrow. There's almost a 4-lap difference in between the Porsches, whereas this one here is less than a lap. As you see, a yellow flag rides here. I'll try to guess where this one is. Dom Bassell. We had a yellow flag flash for a second there, but whoever it was got back on track safely and didn't cause any more headaches. As you see it come up again, I think it's, yes, there he is. Evan Gramke has spun off the track, unfortunately. And he's going to have to wait it out here. So this is a heartbreaker for Evan, as he was passed by Randy Cruz. Now has to wait out on the inside of that gravel trap for lap traffic to pass. Gramke down to 8th place. He's got a fairly wide margin now between him and Joe West, so you shouldn't have to worry about Joe catching him. But he's going to have to do some incredible work to make up the almost 52 seconds between him. Sorry, 23 seconds between him and Randy Cruz. A little bit of late race action here from Dennis Johnson. He made the pass on Delgado and is now working to cut down the gap on Jared Svetek. He's at about a 1 second gap between Jared and himself, and is closing the gap rapidly as they come into turn 1 here. Onboard with Dennis, as you can see, coming in turn 2 here. Hard onto the brakes. Avoiding that big orange sausage on the inside of the corner will upset the car and lose traction for you. Looking off at the iconic Mercedes grandstands there, that huge curved awning over top of it. As he's making the way around Parabolica, coming down into an airbag. So it doesn't look like Dennis is going to have the gap right now to make an attempt at passing here. He's going to try to push a little bit earlier on the throttle than Jared. And Jared already carried a bit more speed, so he is safely away from now. Again, towards that grandstand of the Mercedes. All the curve there. There's Johnson as he searches for a little bit of extra speed coming out of turn 10. Dom Bassell finds himself off track ahead of them. This is going to be a little bit costly for Dom. We're going to yellow flags thrown up. It looks like Dom's going to get away safe. Or maybe not. Searching for gear perhaps is Dom there as he loses quite a bit of time coming into these final 2 corners. Jared Svetek is now within 2 seconds of striking distance from Dom as you see those guys making that battle in front of them. Behind him, not in front of him. Coming down to turn 2. Dom's found his pace again, though. He's away. So a little bit of a wide action there. So he's going to get a slowdown penalty. So it's just going to add insult to injury for Dom. Hopefully he can keep it alive here for another 15 minutes. There's Johnson. A little bit of a slip there. He was almost past Jared Svitek coming into the Parabolica, but he got on the throttle a little bit too hard and caused a slide, which resulted in him losing position. Up in the Porsche class, Pedro Migueles has finally pitted, and in doing so, he has dropped position down to third. But as we saw earlier, Pedro has been making great time around that track, and now with fresh tires, he should be all right. Looks like he's got a bit of damage on the front of his car. It'd be interesting to know what that came from. Hopefully, it's neck load and not an actual damage. He may have made contact with another car out there. I'll have to ask him after the race what happened there, why he's down almost a minute from where he was. But it doesn't look like it's hurting him too much as he making time back here. He's within 4 seconds now, yes, of Weissort. Keep an eye on him, make sure he's okay with his car. That damage may not be superficial, it may actually be damage from a collision. Runs a little wide there as well. Pedro Miguel is working hard to make time up here, but it doesn't look like it's working out for him. He's about 4.5 seconds down from Theodore Insbury, who's still working to overtake John Weissort in P1. Now, if these guys get a little closer together and start battling a bit more, we may see that gap for Miguel's decrease, as those guys are going to start losing time because of the work against each other. So after Don Basel's little spin there, the two cars behind them have switched positions. Johnson and Svitek are now within a second behind each other and a second behind Dom. So coming down towards this hairpin, we should see no change in position for these three. We may see them get a little bit closer together, but Dom Basel cleanly through there and safely away. And the ludicrous car of Range Rover, as you can see him again going a little tail happy coming out of the hairpin. He's working to pass Rachel Delgado for the P4 after pit stops, putting him down a little bit. Maximizing the track limits, coming around into turn 10 here, as you can see, taking the curve on both sides and some of the grass, as he gets a slowdown penalty for doing so. So Range is going to have to relent a little bit and give the stewards what they've asked for, which is a slowdown penalty. The easiest way to serve a slowdown penalty is just to lift a little bit on the straights and allow the time to tick down instead of trying to make a time that cars make them slower. Right behind them, you're watching the two race leaders right now, so they're going to be held up a little bit by this battle going on in front of them. Insbury may use this as an opportunity to overtake. We'll see what happens there. But the number in behind them, Pedro Migueles, is starting to dwindle down as well as these two BMWs. Battle it out. So yes, Range is making time up on doing so. So he's within 0.1 seconds of the car of Mauricio Delgado. Theodore Insbury and John Weissort did have a little bit of time lost to Pedro Migueles, is now within 2.5 seconds of those race leaders. We should see those three getting closer together as we get in the 10-minute mark, which is just a minute and a half away from where we are now. As we watch Range Rover and Delgado work figuring out who should be at P4 at the end of this race. You are seeing P13 on the board. That's incorrect. This doesn't work well with class limits or class differences. So they're just doing who's in the race and their position. As you see side-by-side racing there, Range just on the right side of the screen. The fluid orange car of Delgado coming around the corner. Range giving plenty of room. Respectful driving there. Taking the curve again, all the way to the left side. apart from the power screen. The other orange and blue car, this one with Dennis Johnson, working against Dom Vassell now. Not a lot in between these two as they make their way into the final corner. It really looks like Dennis Johnson's forcing himself into positions here now to try to pass Vassell. So the upside is you can, yes, force the other driver to make an accident, but if you hit each other too many times, you'll both be disqualified from the race for unsafe driving acts. So we'll see what happens with these guys, as the Porsches of John Wysorek and Theodore Ensbury are again plagued by lap traffic. And we see that yellow and white car of Pedro Megales has now closed that gap of over 4 seconds down to 1.5. So he's working hard as Dom Vassell spins again, losing a little bit of time and position now to Dustin Johnson. So Dennis Johnson, sorry. The red and black car of Dom Vassell. There's a little bit of tail happy coming out of that corner, and yes, VRP riot. Yeah, so unfortunate slide there from Dom. He's now 1.5 seconds down from Dennis Johnson. Hopefully he can make the time up. But Pedro Megales, on the other side of things, is making short work of the 4-second gap between himself and Ensbury, and has made that pass stick. He's now working on the P1 position of Pedro Megales as we watch a car, I think that was Young's, yes, go wide at Mercedes. Everyone else hopefully is away safely here. Yes. With under 10 minutes left, your race leader right now is John Wysorek. He's being chased by Pedro Megales, and I hope this is not a properly banged up Porsche. That's just a bit of server damage because of a high ping moment or something. But these two are now neck and neck. Let's see what Pedro Megales can do with 8.5 minutes left of the race here. Joe West in the pit again, so that's 6 pit stops now for Joe West, as he's probably getting damage repaired on his car. And around the white and red car of Sean Patterson are the two Porsches here. Your race leader John Wysorek, and right hot on his bumper is Pedro Megales, as these two work their way around the Parabolica and into the hairpin. Very defensive line there from John Wysorek, taking the apex. Pedro Megales recognizing that and using all the track to get on the inside of things here. Now these two are now door to door, coming in to the right-hand corner of turn 7 here. Pedro pushing John a little bit over the curb, but giving him the room. And respectfully, John gives him that position back. As the two come around. A little bit of tight racing there from Wysorek. As Pedro, I think, got a little bit too much power on him there and put himself in the inside part of the track. Managed to kind of steer his way out of it and kept himself in losing track position. Looks like Dom Vassell has had a little bit of off-track action himself. He's now within 1 second of Dennis Johnson for the leaderboard, as we're keeping an eye on things here up at P1, P2 for the Porsches. So tight racing here. Everything's closed up quite a bit. When we started the race, we had almost a 1.5-minute gap between Pedro Megales and John Wysorek, as Pedro's going to be forced to serve a slowdown penalty here. So it's going to hurt his chances of taking P1 right now. Dennis Johnson, he's running about 1 second ahead, 1.5 seconds now from Dom Vassell. Dom's been plagued by a little bit of shenanigans, being bounced around a little bit by some of the other class cars, but he's making the most of this race by sticking in P2. He's got 3.5 seconds on Jared Svetek and Ranger Rover in behind them. So watch Ranger here pull up on Joe West. As those two come around in the Parabolica. Joe's got a little bit of oversteer again. And that Porsche is rangy as well. squeezing every little bit of that track to keep things alive. So I think penalty's been served here for Megalis, the slowdown penalty, and he's making time back again on the race leader, John Weissork. 5.5 minutes left in this race. Place your bets down, I guess, on who's going to take first. It's going to be a close one, I think. Coming down in his socks. Great stuff there from these two as they come around for the final 2 corners. About 3 laps left before we call this one for the night. Pedro Megalis, much cleaner exit there with his Hertz Porsche. As the two make their way around Sector 1. So you see a little bit of hood damage there from Pedro. Hopefully this damage is not actual damage. It's just that sometimes when you take high paint in this game, it will give your car superficial damage, but not actually affect the vehicle. He's using every bit of tow he can. Again, John taking that inside line out wide. It's Pedro. The two of them come. Oh, a little bit of a touch there. That may open the door for Megalis as he does take over P1 from Weissork. Weissork's not going to let that one go easily as he tries to push up the inside and come under late braking here to take P1 back from Pedro Megalis as the two of them come together. So a little bit of offline there from John Weissork as he takes P1 back from Pedro Megalis. So Pedro's going to work again here. He's got 2.5 laps left to make this one work. BMW race rangers on here. The red and black car of Don Vassell is got 2.5 seconds now behind Dennis Johnson. Barring disaster, I think Dennis may be secured in P1. As we have Keyshawn Hall going off in turn 1 in his Porsche, falling victim to those dangerous curb with the huge huge gutter on the outside. Sorry, I just saw some yellow flags come up there for Pedro Megalis and John Weissork. I thought maybe the two of them had come together and gone off track, but that was not the case. They're still racing safely here over P1 and P2 for the Porsche class. Joe West receiving another slowdown penalty for cutting track. Here we go again. Let's watch these two battle for position coming into the hairpin. We'll see if John decides to take that overly defensive inside line. Megalis is going to take the higher speed. There we go. So the defensive move did work there for John, where he did take the apex away, but Pedro recognized that early and got himself out as wide as possible and took the inside-outside lap as John Weissork going very, very wide into the Mercedes, opening the door wide open for Megalis, giving him almost a 2.5 second lead with 1.5 here to go at Hockenheim. I say 1.5 because they're not going to make 2 full laps here. They're going to make 1, and then halfway through the second lap, it's going to be a checkered flag waving by the time we come around for the finish. So your new race leader again is Pedro Megalis. He's led 90% of this race. He had a little bit of downtime there. I'm not sure from off track or if incident action caused him to lose so much time to John Weissork, but he's now making up almost 4 seconds on the red and white car you can see in the background of John Weissork. So steady hand of Pedro paid off there. John a little bit under braked and found himself off track in front of the Mercedes grandstands, and Pedro Megalis now out what should be the final lap of the race as we make our way into the final minute here at Hockenheim. P1 for the BMW class right now is Dennis Johnson. He's got 2.2 second lead on Don Vassell behind him in the red and black BMW. But the Pixum car here of Dennis Johnson is being chased down by, I think that is Luke for the pony, as we have the yellow flags coming over the track again here. As, what is that? Sean Patterson. I think it was one of the, it may have been Sean Patterson off track. We had half the field light up with the yellow flags there. And sorry for all the jumping around. I was just trying to catch whose car it was. The system doesn't jump very well to it. So some last lap action here from Rangy Rover. He's got about a 0.8 second gap on Jared Svetek, who's now in P3 in the BMW class, as those two make their way down towards the hairpin for the final time on this track. So there we go. The checkered flag will be waving here as we come across for your P1 winner of the race. Pedro Magales coming across as your race winner. Congratulations to Pedro. P2, John Wysork. P3, Theodore Ensbury. Joe West is just going crazy down here. Just drove into the side of Rangy Rover, causing him a great deal of damage and putting him backwards on the track. So now Rangy's got to get himself turned around again. He gets hit by Delgado. Coming into these final few corners, we're going to try to get over and get onto Dennis Johnson for the P1 of the Mercedes class, as we have some last lap insanity here, enticed by the white and yellow car of Joe West. So there you go, your race winner, Dennis Johnson, coming across the start-finish line up against the pit wall. Don Basalin behind him. And Jared Svetek taking third place. As you watch the cars swerving back and forth and behind. That was 90 minutes at Hockenheim. As you see the smoking car of Joe West up in the background there. A little bit of a threat that entire race was the white and yellow car of Joe West. As we call this one Pedro Magales, your race winner. John Wysork, P2. Theodore Ensbury, P3 for the Porsches. Dennis Johnson taking P1 for the BMWs. Don Bassell, P2. And Jared Svetek rounding up third. I'm going to have to give driver of the day, I think, to... It's going to be a toss-up in between Don Bassell or Rangy Rover. I think we can share that one as we're looking at the final score here. So on the podium, Magales, Wysork, and Ensbury for the Porsches, Johnson, Bassell, and Svetek for the BMWs. And like I said, I would give the drivers of the night to Bassell and Rangy Rover, both of them overcoming massive damage to their cars and some off-track excursions to come back for a great result in Bassell and decent result. Unfortunately, P5 finish for Rangy Rover, so that last lap kind of caught him out there. Just going to take a quick second here and jump into the results page here, if I can pull it up. There we go. And try to find the race result from tonight's race. Just give me 2 seconds. There it is. So looking in here, Pedro Magales was your pole setter with a 142.626 lap time, and your race winner was Pedro Magales, who finished first overall. Great race from him. John Wysork making up one position to come in second place, as well as Theo Ensbury. Theo Lupu unfortunately lost 2 positions and a little bit of rating for that one, but not a big hit for him. Big damage to the rating for TJ Second Toccio. unfortunately was out very early on in this race due to damage. Fred Ross, same sort of deal, was out early. Looking down further into the race, Dennis Johnson coming in from 7th place all the way into 1st, so huge drive from him. Great work. So you know what? I'll throw him in the pile there. 3 drivers now for the drivers of the night. 6th position climb is quite a thing to do. Don Bessel, no slouch, 27-point gain for his rating, coming in 2nd place. Jared Svetek, outstanding drive from him in this Gold Star Chili. A little bit of a war going on between Gold Star and Skyline Chili these days, but Gold Star Chili taking 3rd place. Moving on down, Mauricio Delgado, Extreme Rangers, and then Rangy Rover coming in with a -1 on his position loss, and he's now sitting with a little bit of a damage to his rating, but he'll make that back, I'm sure. And on Scotty G, this is North America Race Room coverage of the Wednesday night endurance race. It was the bronze coverage of the Hockenheim, Porsche GT3 Cups, and the BMW 325i Racing. If you want more of this kind of content, just follow us on YouTube under either here or with North America Race Room's official YouTube channel, or you can also catch us on Discord if you just check in the description here underneath the video. And thanks for coming out. I'm Scotty G, and we'll see you soon.